Welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in, because in this video we are going to take a close look at the Teleportation Magic Box. In China they're just grabbing an Android box, slapping MUL on it most of the time, but the Teleportation Magic Box lineup is slightly different. I did review a couple of these boxes in the past and I just wanted to check out what is going on with this newer model. And yup, they are releasing, or maybe sometimes re-releasing products, and they're just improving it, or they say they improve it, but that's the reason why we're going to test them out. But inside the box we do get everything that we're going to need. For example, we're going to get ourselves a color box, a machine, USB line. I really love these names, makes no sense whatsoever. But what are we actually going to get inside the box? Let's take a close look. So first of all, we're going to get ourselves like a modified Android box. It's not your typical Android box. Some of the companies do this, but this is particularly like a different kind of solution. They have a very nice tiny fan in here. Let's take a close look at it later if it's going to be sounding like a vacuum cleaner. Two USB ports for the controllers, HDMI out. It seems to be having AV out, but it doesn't always work. The SD card is behind here and the input for the power supply. But the weird thing is, and that is always you need to double check, they're putting a piece of, let's say, or sticker or something over it. I would say almost say plastic, but I already noticed that they didn't implement the SD card like it should be. The case itself is very cheaply made, but nevertheless, let's take a close look at it. We do have the configuration of having one dongle and two controllers. But let's take a close look at the controller. The controller overall is not the same quality when it comes to original PlayStation controllers. This is the better quality. You can mostly see it when you're looking at the joystick. They are having really rubber, let's say rubber compound on top of it, where we have like the chip have more like a plastic feel. Another thing I always love to test is the ABXY button. I'm doing it like that. You can just feel how they are when you actually going to play them, and I must say they don't feel that bad. The D-pad on the other hand is absolutely, like say, feeling way cheaper. It even got this very cheap click to it, but later on let's test it out with some fighting games. The on and off switch over here, and the compartment will need to have two AAA batteries to power on the control itself. There is no lithium battery whatsoever in the inside. But last but not least, we're going to get ourselves the power supply. What is really annoying, the power supplies are very cheap quality and there is no adapter for me. Yeah, so we do have ourselves a card reader they're giving you if you want to add new games. Of course, the toilet paper manual, like always, that gives you like a basic explanation how everything works, the menu, etc. But yeah, the power supply, it's only 1 amp, but oh boy, this thing feels really cheap. And I need to get myself another adapter. Great! While it's convenient that they also implement a piece of toilet paper that explains how you need to add games. And yeah, there is an option to swap the games if you want to, but it's going to be needing a PC at least. So on the inside we do have this very tiny RGB fan, and I can tell you I'm surprised just how silent this thing is. Let's grab my microphone and let you hear it. The biggest downside to these boxes are that we don't have an on and off switch, and I think it's quite annoying. It's like a hit or miss with these boxes. Maybe I'm a little bit nitpicky about it, but yeah, if you want to unplug it or power it off, you need to unplug it. Yeah, that's basically how it works. It's kind of annoying. So if you're comparing this super game box or teleportation box compared with other brands, they completely modify it to a certain point that this is no Android box whatsoever. And it's quite interesting to see. Actually, one just booting up the device itself, we're going to get ourselves a very nice, cool looking fancy intro. The intro is around, let's say, 40 seconds, and after that it will load up the system itself. So we're going to get another loading screen, this is very briefly, and then it will boot up into the main menu. Let's take a close look at it. So if you have seen a couple of my videos, for example with Pandora's boxes, if you haven't, consider subscribing, hit a little bell and check them out, because this menu looks very similar. The first list is the all list. It's absolutely one big mess, and yeah, this is not a super convenient thing. Going to the favorites, pressing the R1 button, then having the different kind of categories like PlayStation Portable that I really love to test out to see how it's actually going to be running, Dreamcast, 3D Naomi, Nintendo DS, N64, PlayStation 1, even having arcade, Super Famicom, GBA, Mega Drive, Famicom, Game Boy Color, And this is a kind of cool thing. That is the Neo Geo Pocket Game Gear, and it keeps going on. It's kind of cool, to be honest, that they even implement all kinds of new different platforms that we didn't see before with the cheap boxes. And they even made a special like Mega Drive 32X. I think it's cool. Even Atari Lynx is on here. And this is the normal Atari stuff. But that's basically what we're going to get. At the right bottom here we're going to get the, let's say, quick menu. Here we can see that we're having the search function. Then of course we're going to get B for select, A for back, the X for favorites. And pressing select and L2 makes it save. Select the R2 makes it load. And start +2 times select will bring you back to the main menu. But in the end the menu is quite similar when you're looking at the previous models when it comes to the teleportation box. So let's take a close look at the performance and overall. I must say, when you're looking at the 16-bit stuff, that runs most of the time just fine. The really unfortunate thing is that we don't have any option, so far I know, for changing out the aspect ratio. At the top in the middle you also see some minor glitching going on, so it's not perfectly emulated. But I already mentioned before, when it comes to 16-bit stuff, this runs just fine on these cheaper boxes. The downside is if you want to play some old school handheld games like the Game Boy Advance, also that will be extremely stretched. I'm playing this on around, I think it was a 22-inch monitor, so it doesn't look like super bad. Okay, so one of the systems I just needed to check out is the Vertrex. I've never seen a Vertex emulator before when it comes to these cheap game boxes, and I mean specifically the cheap ones that are like ready to set to go, like this particular one, and not the like Super Console X one that runs I like. It's kind of a weird experience playing this actually on a monitor. I think recently I did a review about the full arcade machine, but basically that was like a tiny bar top you can bring home with you. It's absolutely amazing piece of technology. But you can just experience this on your monitor. Another system I wanted to check out is the PlayStation Portable part.
Get ready for the next event.
But with this new model, it's unfortunate that they didn't update the emulator that's running the PlayStation Portable.
Round one.
Besides the glitches, it runs just slow. It's absolutely impossible to enjoy this game, because it isn't even running on full speed. Without an FPS counter I can already see, but also you can hear it. So if Tekken 6 doesn't even run, you can't even forget playing God of War with this. They should like remove all the more demanding stuff, add some two-dimensional stuff that runs okay on this. So for PlayStation Portable I want to grab another game from the pile of games, just to see actually what we're going to get when it comes to the basic games, and this is especially what I mean. The two-dimensional games are not that demanding. Really surprised to see more glitches whatsoever. Next up, let's take a close look at some Sega Dreamcast. Of course, one of my favorite games to play, Dead or Alive 2. But also one of the many games that are very demanding. And I'm not surprised that it doesn't run that great. Don't get me wrong, there will be a lot of games running fine on this, but the more demanding games will always have problems like this. Unplayable. Next up, let's try some Sega Nomi. And let's check out how this will be running on here. But here you can see that some of the games will run just fine. To a certain point we have some audio glitching going on, but beside that, in the beginning, the game is just playable. Another system that is surprisingly working on there is the Nintendo DS. But just gonna be honest, I don't really like this at all. And I particularly mean when you're looking at the stylus and how everything works. Some of the files are completely different kind of region, so we don't have English at all. So let's see if we can actually play. Oh, there we go. So that seems to be working fine. But from this point I cannot really find a way to switch between any of select start. Everything have been configured correctly, but I cannot really find a way to change the screen itself. So I think it's clear to say that this hasn't been configured and there was no way of getting into the freaking emulator menu. Okay, let's get into the N64 part. For the most people have seen a lot of my videos. For the people who don't know, N64 doesn't really run great when it comes to the cheap boxes. We do already see some glitches in the air, and it has been set to an absolutely garbage resolution. I think when it comes to emulation, it's so great to play these old games, even upscaled. They're actually running better than the original sometimes. They did configure everything like it should be, so that's great. You can just hear some hiccups here and there. Where GoldenEye is a very demanding game. Some basic games will have glitches but have even better performance. But I just want to quickly test out this particular game. I just quickly wanted to check out another game to see if it will have the same problem. But it seems to be that we don't have the problem with every single game. So let's get into the gameplay and see, do we have actually some soundtrack going on here? No, same problem. Also here they didn't add the music to it. That is quite unfortunate. I'm getting some Contra vibes over here. I don't know how it's with you, but... Okay, so there's a little bit of a bummer when it comes to PlayStation 1. Something I have seen many times before. For saving up space, they are basically adding the game without any background music. So yeah, that's it. We're just going to get actually the game itself. I did not on every single system, but yeah, they did it with this particular game. So when it comes to the overall performance, if you love PlayStation 1, these cheap boxes will run it without any problems on native resolution. So when you're looking at the case itself, they didn't improve a lot of things. To begin with, when you're looking at the device itself, it's almost the same similar stuff that we're going to get. Maybe they adjusted the menu or some kind of minor things, but it's not really noticeable for me. So we're going to get a piece of metal, the same stuff that we've seen in the previous models. Then the main board, yeah, so when you're looking at it, it's using the S95L. That also explains why this thing is running so bad with PlayStation Portable and some other emulators. So it also states S905L here, mini version 1.1. But also another thing is that we're looking at the date. This mainboard states back all the way from 2018. Still, it's kind of good for the e-waste. But beside that, they're still using old school hardware for making these game boxes. Construction is also very similar, with 4 parkers holding the 2 cases together and putting the mainboard in place. It's a very easy and very nice. If you're new to some maintenance, you can do it and quickly tear down if you need to clean the fan. The fan has been, let's say, soldered straight into the mainboard with just a basic paper tape put together. So that's basically what we're going to get on the inside. So with a game box, you never know what you're going to get. When you're looking at the pages that are advertised, they say it can run all kinds of wicked things. But in the end, when you're going to test it, you see PlayStation Portable does struggle. Beside that, what I do like about it is it's just like a plug-and-play solution. If you just want to add some stuff to it, it is possible. But beside that, we do have like a lot of cons when it comes to this product. The question remains how much you need to pay for it, and also is it really worth for the particular stuff or game you want to play. Thank you for watching, consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and it will be great to see you in the next video.